Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
I just want to tell you, your Knicks are off to such a great start.
Oh, come on. You can't even give me like a minute.
Okay, let's go to the Saints.
Oh, you can't even give me 3 minutes?
Okay. All right, let's go to the Yankees.
You can't even give me 10? This may have been the worst sports weekend of my entire life. It's up there.
I have to give you credit. Right? On a beautiful sunny day, right? That's just gorgeous out there. There's a dark cloud over your head.
Let's see. The Saints put up 8 points, including a safety.
But there were 8 really good ones.
There were 8 really good ones. So they put up 8 points. The Yankees lost game 1 on a walk-off grand slam.
That I was watching. I did not see game 2.
That one hurt. I didn't see game 2 either. What else? The Knicks.
How was the
what?
How was the field party, by the way?
It was fun. It was good. The field is nice. We've been there the past couple weeks in terms of Penn State games. It was good. People enjoyed it. USC was a more lively crowd than Wisconsin was, but it was about, I guess, the same as Camp Randall in the fourth quarter. It was about the same volume.
Yeah.
Yeah. But along with all my other sports stuff, Steve.
So in that game, let's start with that because and then we'll talk about Ohio State as well. Penn State, Jack and I both knew going in it was going to be like they won 3 in a row. And I said the key was at some point you had to get them behind because they had not been behind a single second in the 3-game winning streak. In other words, they have played with a comfort and confident level for 180 minutes of football. Right? They've been confident and comfortable for 180 minutes. You had to make them uncomfortable. Get them in a spot they had not been in. They had not been a come-from-behind team all season long. And look, Penn State made plays and made mistakes on the plays. It's not a fake punt. It's not. It's a blocked punt. Kimber is going to block the punt. He's going to take it right off his foot. And I got to give Bartram's credit. He moved, got out of the way. Then you notice he was going to punt it.
He was.
And went, wow, there's nobody out there.
Well, it's happened in a few games I've seen in the past few years where a punter just looks to go punt it and then like, oh, look at that. I've got 40 yards of space ahead of me and I've got to get 10.
Right. And not only that, though, because he's a rugby-style punter, he's used to going that direction anyway. Okay, because he's left-footed.
Yeah.
And they got 3 out of that. Right? Well, he should have had none. In fact, it should have been Penn State's ball probably at the 5-yard line blocking the punt. Right? Okay, so you give that one away. Julian Fleming makes a terrific catch on a 3rd down play. Really nice catch. But then at the 10-yard line, he's got it and
drop.
That's a touchdown. So you're doing all these things that are great, but the result isn't.
Yeah.
They drive downfield. Aller was really sharp. I mean, I'm talking, he was really sharp. And they moved and moved and moved because Penn State's field position has been lousy this year.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize for a team that is 7-0, the opposition actually for the season now has 3 more yards of field position than Penn State does. That's not supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be up. If you're 7-0, you should probably have for the season, a 200 to 400-yard difference in field position over your 7 opponents total when you add it all up. Because I keep track of it on my chart. Well, right now Penn State's minus 3 yards.
Yeah. Bertram's was booting the ball. He was hitting that ball far. Right,
but again, you got to be able to get some turnovers. You got to do some things. But they've had long fields to work with. So they engineer the drive. The touchdown pass to Singleton is just a great play. And again, it's the ability of a running back to understand how to run pass routes. Most running backs do not. Like Saquon Barkley knows how to run a pass pattern. Like Zeke Elliott, for all the great things he's done in his career, floats. Yeah. He's a floater. right? And most running backs are. McCaffrey knows how to run pass routes, no question about it.
Kamara, can't forget
Right?
Kamara.
Kamara is outstanding at running pass routes. It's fabulous. But most running backs don't do that, right? Well, he runs that route where he cuts that thing up, boom, and he loses his guy because he did it. He ran it right, didn't round it, and caught it. So you get the 7 points, right? And then before the end of the half, you know, they end up taking the lead. So they're feeling really good about themselves, the whole thing. All right. Well, then, look, we saw what happened to Drew at the end of the first half. We're like, okay, we'll see what happens. He threw 2 balls coming out of the locker room because I watched him warm up. And I looked at Jack. I said, he is not going. He said, he hadn't told, I don't think he told James yet. But I looked at Jack. He's not going to go. So you can tell. And I think the words I used on the air of, well, it's Bo's show now. Right.
And it was. And
so what Bo does, first of all, am I surprised at how well Bo Prabula played? No. I see this all the time. I've seen this for 3 years in practice, little snippets in games here and there, but I see it in practice all the time. One thing he does immediately is he makes the running game better because now you don't know.
Well, you have to expect either he's going to hand it off or he's going to run it down your throat.
Right. Like, okay. Right. You don't know who has the ball. Even on the touchdown late in the game to Allen, hey, Bo doesn't hand that ball out. It was a direct snap to Allen. Bo was just standing there. Right. Well, they didn't know. They thought Bo had it. Right. And all of a sudden, Allen's taking off because he got a head start, and he goes down the sideline. He's got it. But when it came to throwing the ball, he was 11 of 13 in the game.
Yeah. He threw the ball well. He looked good. He didn't make any crazy passes. He didn't try and do anything crazy because...
Well, there was one pass he threw to Walls that was like Jack and I were like, I don't think we want to look at the replay of that. But the touchdown pass to Dinkins is a great play.
Yeah.
It's a third read, right? And Singleton kind of cleared it out for him. Right, and the 2 passes he made rolling left, not his natural hand, but squared up the shoulders, boom, right there. Clifford came up big for him. Wallace came up big for him. They played well. And defensively, what really helped, the Reed interception, simplistically, puts Penn State in front. You needed to make a play on defense, right, to change the dynamics of the game. Reed not only changed it, but he scored on it to now put them in front, which then I think relaxes everybody because now you are playing with the lead and they are doing something now they have not done for a month, and that is play from behind. And they stuff that running game all night long. It's a team that must stay on schedule. Okay, it's got to be 2nd and 5 or 6. It's got to be 3rd down and 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Nope. 2nd down 11. By the way, whomever does the scoring at this place. Have you ever watched football? We're sitting there in the 3rd quarter. Jack and I are looking at the stats. Penn State has no tackles for losses. I'm like going, no tackles for losses. He said, we're like, you're calling 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12. I'm like, I don't know. I said they must have a different definition of the line of scrimmage than we do, but it doesn't matter.
If I may, really quickly. So on the running front, Walker, I believe, only had 1 run in the second half that was positive yardage. That was in 2 minutes left in the game for 13 yards. That was it. He had no other rushing yards in the rest of the second half outside of that one.
He had 2.7 yards per carry for the game.
22 rushes, 59 yards. His longest was 12. So he got held in check about as well as you could hold anybody in check for a game.
Guy had back-to-back 100-yard rushing games.
And
he had rushed for over 300 yards the last 2 games.
And you hold him under 60. Not bad. But along with that, the defensive side of things, I was sitting there, of course, with my post-game co-host, a person you know well here on the show who's not here today to talk about his Niners, Jason Lord. And we said, and I quote, with 7 minutes...
He's still face down in an alley
somewhere
after they won last night.
Yes.
But we were guy to work with.
We're sitting there, we're talking 7 minutes to go in the 3rd quarter, and we say, both of us said Penn State needs to get a turnover to help out Bo. Because you give him the lead, and that will not only, as did you say, it makes Wisconsin play from behind, but also gives him a little creature of comfort knowing, like, I don't have to throw us into the lead. I can just play my game and do what I have to do. What happens? 30 seconds later, Jaylen Reed picks it off, which, by the way, I want to ask about that, about Locke. Did he just not see him?
Jack said that right away. He said he never saw him.
Jalen Reed walked back maybe 3-4 yards and didn't move from where he was. He didn't go left, right. He just 3 yards back and just sat there.
Right. But but again, that's getting into the passing lane. There's a play Rojas made where I said to Jack, I said, that's the proper depth of a drop of a linebacker, which of course Jack then takes off and talks about. Because that's big. But that's the freelancing Jay Reed, which we've talked about with KJ out there. He could have done that. Well, now they're doing a few more things that's allowing him to do that more. But as Jack said right away, he said, Steve, he never saw him. You watched the play, you just didn't see him.
No.
But Locke has thrown an interception in each of the last 4 games, including that one. We're just kind of waiting for him to do it.
6 in the last 5 and a fumble in there as well. Right. So he's got 7 turnovers in 5 games. It's just kind of
he just like missed passes. You're like, okay, well, he hit. Obviously he hit a few.
Penn State could have had 3 or 4 interceptions in this game. Right. The Rojas one, if it's just slightly different angle, he might get that a bunch.
But that play turns everything around. Now, I have no idea what he did to get the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. I have no idea, because what that did was they came down and got a field goal after that, because they had great field position to start with after the kickoff.
I was going to say,
because you kicked off. Because I think the first kickoff, Wosu had one out of the end zone, and I said, that one went to Fondue Lock. Right? We always have a little fun with wherever we are.
I want to change it up a little bit, and I don't want to talk about the injuries. It is Monday. We don't know what the status is going to be yet on Aller and Nidetta Sutton. We don't know. We're not going to know for a few days. I'm guessing we're not going to find out till Friday, Saturday. Is it fair to say out loud? Yes. I'll assume that's a yes. So we're not going to know on their status for a while.
You're not going to know till Saturday.
Yeah, we're not going to know till game time. So
don't even bother trying.
Not even bothering discussing it. But my thought is, who are you hoping, let's say, Dennis Sutton doesn't go like he did in that second half? Who'd you see step up on the D-line? What'd you see from them?
Well, Smith-Vilbert played a great game.
Yeah.
I thought Smith-Vilbert played a great game stepping up. But you have to remember, too, okay, certain things will happen along the way. So let's talk about Ohio State for a moment. Ohio State played on merit a soft schedule for the first 5 games. Like, not challenged at all. Now they got to Oregon. What did they have to do at Oregon that they had not had to do in any game all season? Play the entire game. Suddenly, instead of getting 30 or 35 snaps, guys were out there taking 60 to 70 snaps. See, that's different. It's different when you do that. So Smith-Vilbert went out there, took more snaps than I want to say he took 35 snaps in the game, something like that. It's a little bit more than he normally takes. And I thought he played really, really well. I mean, Vanover played well.
I know he's not the same position. He's more interior. Alonzo Ford played really well as well.
That's the best game Alonzo Ford's played. He had 2 tackles for losses in the game.
He had one. He ran down Walker. I think.
He ran him down from behind. It's like watching a bear.
Yeah. Jason and I were like, that's a large man moving really fast and tackle a guy from behind. That is scary.
Jack and I were really impressed with how Ford played in the game. I thought Nolan Rucci did a good job, with Donko missing part of the game. So, I mean, your depth shows. That's why James referred to it as a total team win. We talked about Ohio State. Suddenly you're playing more plays than you ever have, like in a season. It's not like those guys like JTT, Tuli Molau and Jack Sawyer. It's not like they've never played 70 plays in a game, but they hadn't done it this year.
Yeah,
right. And suddenly, out of nowhere, they're out at Oregon. They're playing more plays than they ever have. And Oregon, to its credit, has a lot of team speed, too.
And even Nebraska, they had to play to the end of the game. It was a 4-point game.
They did. They had
scored
to play
late.
They had to play all the way through. I give Ohio State a lot of credit for this. They fell behind in the fourth quarter, and the very next drive, the ensuing drive, they took it and went down the field. They scored. Nebraska did a good job of negating their running game. And they've got two of the best running backs going in Henderson and Judkins.
They had a combined 54 yards, which is less than
they had
Walker had.
They had 140 against Oregon as a team rushing, and Ashton Genty had 198 alone.
Yeah.
Their receiving core, the best receiving core I've seen up to this point in person this season is unquestionably USC's. I mean, you look at Hudson, you look at Lemon,
Branch.
you look at Deuce Robinson, you look at Zachariah Branch, like pretty good with Woody Marks. It's well, this trio is better. Smith can be a game breaker. Carnell Tate is excellent. He's coming off his first career 100-yard receiving game. Emeka Mbuka is a pro. Okay,
You have three high-level receivers.
They're really, really good, no question. And Howard does a good job. He's accurate, gets the ball to him. Howard can also run, which really helps. G. Scott is a good, solid Big Ten tight end, but he's not Cade Stover. Stover hurt Penn State a lot the last couple seasons. Now, it's not as if Scott can't do something that will hurt him because you're concentrating so much on those three guys, but it's not Stover. And then there's the offensive line. Ohio State is very much a left-handed team, right? If anybody on the planet knows what it's like to play against a left-handed team defensively, it is Jack Ham, because the Raiders, the then Oakland Raiders, with Art Shell at left tackle and Gene Upshaw at left guard, were the definition of a left-handed team. And back in Jack's days, I think they were the only you defined as a left-handed team. Most teams were right-handed, right? For whatever reason. You say, well, gee, all the right-handed quarterbacks back in the day, they didn't think about that stuff as much as they think about it today. But predominantly left-handed team. Well, Ohio State's been, because Josh Simmons was a left-handed team. You got Jackson and Simmons over there.
Yeah.
That's a terrific 1-2 punch. And there's no doubt their left side's better than their right side. Right? Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert, but since I got two really great players over there, let's go that way. Right? Well, that hasn't, Simmons got hurt. That changed the dynamics of left and right for them. So to me, it's somewhat of a mystery as to how they want to play it. With their offensive line. Now, look, Mahalski got hurt. He limped out. I don't know if he can play or not. I'm not going to know till Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really think about it too much. They took Jackson. And again, you're trying to get your five best guys out there. So the third string offensive tackle may not be one of their five best guys.
Yeah.
All right, so they took Jackson from left guard, they moved him to left tackle, and they put Montgomery, the backup guard, in at left guard. That may be their definition of what their five best guys are, okay? Because that's what you have to do. You can't just go, well, next tackle up. No, that's not really how it works, okay?
Yeah.
And then you look at their defense. Oregon did a great job of using their tackles and getting Sawyer and Tulimalo out. But what made it work was not that part.
So what was it then?
What they did to the defensive tackles to clear space and allow Gabriel to step up and climb the pocket and have a free lane to throw the football. Raiola didn't have that. Let's give credit where credit's due. I thought that their defensive tackle play, Tyleek Williams, did a great job. I thought Ty Hamilton did a great job. Their defensive tackles played a lot better. I also thought Cody Simon played out of his mind. The linebacker, 0.
3 tackles for loss.
He was terrific in the game. He's quick. He's smart. He knows how to play. What I found interesting is I think Burke is a terrific defensive back, but teams have been throwing at him. I don't know. That part I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's not as if they've all been incomplete because they all haven't been incomplete. And I think he's really good. I think Burke is a quality player.
So it is just something to note moving forward. This is the entire world is going to be descending on Happy Valley this coming weekend.
Really?
Because College Game Day is going to be here. Big Noon is going to be here.
Wow.
Steve Jones is going to be here, of course.
Just when I thought there was no reason to live.
I know. But it's going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it across the board.
You can tell how concerned I get about these things.
I know.
Drives you nuts.
It does drive me nuts. A lot of things drive me nuts, Steve. The Saints drive me nuts, but I don't want to talk about them right now. What I do want to discuss, though...
so bitter.
I am bitter, and I will acknowledge that, and I'll be okay with it. What I do want to acknowledge is this felt like the first time we saw this defense, just everyone played a good game. Mm-hmm. I was really... It brought a sense of calm, I think, that they did as well as they did. It sounds weird to say out loud, but I saw a lot of people saying, oh, this defense is playing terribly. They've given up 10 points. Like, this is awful. 10 points? You're mad that they gave up 10 points and then gave up 13 at the end of the game total? That's what you're mad about? Like, I don't know if I have a different standard for what good and bad is, Steve. But I feel like holding a team to under 2 touchdowns is pretty good.
Well, yeah, I mean that's one standard. Points are one standard. Okay, for me. Mm-hmm. My other standard is what I refer to as stop rate, and I have that on my chart. And Penn State's stop rate for the season is 76% for the season. That means teams have only scored on 24% of their drives this season. Yeah. So the other night, for example, Wisconsin had 11 drives, scored 3 times. Penn State stopped them 8 times. Penn State's 38% on 3 and outs or something like that. But their stop rate for the season is 76%, and it's 80% in the second half. And that to me is a big part. When I hire a new defensive coordinator, I've got a pretty good offense. When I hire a new defensive coordinator, I'm asking that new defensive coordinator to do 2 things. Get me 1 extra stop in the first half and get me 1 extra stop in the second half. Right? It's about stop rate. So it's about points, number 1, and it's about stops. Okay? Stops are no points.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's why there's certain things that I keep that I think are important. Right? Now, sometimes it doesn't come into play. Sometimes it does. Right? I've got on there what their record is when they win the middle 8. I've got the record on there as to what when they win turnovers, when they win big plays, when they win both. I've got all that stuff on there in case I ever need it, because it makes a point when you do. When you do need it. I have opening drives of the game, second half, same thing, opponent opening drives, and so on and so forth. Game and second half, things like that.
It's something to note. And then this game, of course, we're going to discuss it more throughout the week, because why would we not discuss it? It is the game of the week. It is the everything of the week, and it's going on at noon on Saturday here in Happy Valley. Other games around the nation.
So are you going to go to game day or big game kickoff?
Well, we'll be doing our pregame show, Steve, on 99.5, 107.5 The Bus, and Big Country Legends, 103.7, 104.3, and simulcast on the Blue 8 Illustrated YouTube channel.
That's nice, but at 10:30 you're done.
We are done at 10:30, and then we'll be listening into you and Jack, because that's what we want to do.
Jack will say something profound. I'll say the same stupid stuff I always say.
Well, I'll probably end up coming up to the booth, listening to you guys there, throwing peanuts at you, and I'll have a good time.
Just unbelievable. That's why the Secret Service is going to be
there. That is why the Secret Service is going to be there.
Because of people like you.
Exactly. Other games that went on throughout the nation, I wanted to get your feelings on. The first one is Oregon, the team we kind of talked about a little bit. They're still considered the number 1 team in the nation right now by rankings as of this moment. It felt like they've turned it up a little bit. They turned up against Ohio State. This Illinois game was the same. 38-9 was the final score.
Their team speed is phenomenal.
They are.
I mean, they can run.
They're cruising.
But what's interesting is the schedule's also fallen into place nicely for them. Right? In other words, you look at what have been their big games. Well, they had a big game with Ohio State. It was at home. They had another ranked game against Illinois. That game was at home. Right? Okay. They've got Michigan at Michigan. But Michigan's offense doesn't play well enough to keep up with this crowd. Yeah. And what Michigan's biggest issue right now is everybody can talk about the quarterback all they want. I've got it, because it's been a revolving door. They've used 3. We'll take you this time. So this time it's Davis Warren. But the big issue is their offensive line is not as good as it was the last 2 years. It's made a huge difference for them because they can't get enough of a running game going. They can get going to a point, but they need to take the ball 90 yards to score.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's not easy. And the other game they've got, when you look down the stretch, is Washington. That's their last game.
Yeah. They're at Wisconsin on the 16th. That might be a game.
In fact, I think Noah and Todd told me that they might get that game.
Yeah. So that'll be at Wisconsin on the 16th.
Noah and Todd might get that game.
That would make sense. That'll be a good one. But as you said, at Michigan, home against Maryland, at Wisconsin, home to Washington the final week of the season.
I mean, Washington, remember, Washington, Dan Lanning has never beaten them. People don't realize that. They've seen Oregon have success. They don't realize that they have not yet beaten Washington.
And speaking of Washington, they lost this week 31-17 in Bloomington against the backup quarterback for Indiana. And I thought Indiana played well. I think they did a good job to play without O'Rourke.
I didn't really see the game because, believe it or not, the hotel room didn't get BTN. Okay, so Big Ten. Maybe I had it on the wrong channel. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I was watching Ohio State. That was kind of like the big Penn State's not going to play Indiana.
Yeah.
Like Washington, I've already seen play. So Washington, okay, let's start with this. Washington has two elements right away that are dangerous. They got a quarterback I like. Will Rogers I think is very good. Right? They play a pro-style passing game, and Will Rogers is very good at it. Two, Jonah Coleman, the running back, is a tough player. He's got some speed. He's got some power. He can throw a Volkswagen over a hedge. I mean,
never heard that one before.
So it's like, okay,
that's a new one.
I got a whole bunch of new ones. So,
but that was a good game over there in Bloomington. Indiana pulled it out.
I mean, but that's a veteran team because of the transfer portal. They're a veteran team. These are not a bunch of kids running around there. He's got 12 transfers from JMU who know him. Right? Well, JMU is a pretty good team.
Yeah.
Well, they were good in the Sun Belt. They're good in the Big Ten. Now, Indiana's 8-0. Right? But they don't have Penn State this year. They don't have Oregon this year. And they still have not played Michigan or Ohio State yet.
I was going to say, they've got themselves a fun
but that's
23rd.
fine. They'll get a chance.
Yeah.
They'll get a chance to show everybody what they're made of. I mean, they can win those games.
Yeah.
They are cohesive. They play hard. They play with great confidence. Rourke will be back this weekend, it looks like, which will help them. But let's give Trace Jackson Davis's brother a little credit there.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought his younger brother got out there and gave a great account of himself, played really well. Their offensive line is really good, by the way.
Yeah. They're just a good football team, and they're getting the credit they deserve now this season. They're going to probably end up climbing up the rankings a little bit because LSU lost. They'll probably end up climbing up a little bit in the rankings.
Yeah, see, for LSU, the tough part is this. They have now climbed into the two-loss pool. Right? And that's the pool you need to avoid to be in because now it gets a little muddled.
Well,
right? Because now, as a two-loss team, you're looking at being in the 9 through 12 spot somewhere in there as the, quote, the best you can do. Right? And that's that. And you still have to somehow, again, we've never seen them rank people before because the committee hasn't done it yet.
No.
Okay, we've got the AP did this, UP, coaches poll did that. They're both irrelevant. I mean,
it's going to come down to what the committee thinks.
Now, the polls are great for, and this week's matchup is, which gives a little more juice,
3 versus
excitement,
4.
all right. Okay?
Yeah.
But they don't mean anything for the playoff. Okay, it's a whole separate committee that does that. So they haven't even ranked anybody yet. So we don't know what they value.
Yeah. And we are sitting here right now in the SEC alone with one-loss teams, including Texas A&M, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
2-loss teams of LSU, Alabama, Missouri, Ole Miss.
All right.
That is a lot of competition. That is 8 teams sitting there with 2 or 1 loss, all as of right now, ranked in the top 25 of the AP coaches type polls. That is, that's a lot.
First of all, number one, in the regular season, you can't fall into the 3-loss pool. You're done.
3-loss, you're done. 2-loss, you're
that's
border.
regular season. Doesn't mean you can't be a team that's 10-2 being your conference championship game. Like, hey, play great, got here, the whole deal, and all of a sudden you lose that game to me, you're still in consideration because that's the extra game. You risked yourself one extra game compared to other people.
But as of right now, I believe the rankings got redone for this week. As of right now, Bama's outside the top 12. They're outside of it. So is LSU. So are Ole Miss. So are Missouri. And a lot of these teams are going to play each other again and again and again. Like, if you are sitting there as Georgia, you've still got Ole Miss and Tennessee. Those aren't gimme games. Like, that's going to be big for Georgia. You then look at Texas, who, again, still has their loss. They've got Arkansas, who upset some people. They've got A&M as well. Like, the at A&M game for Texas. And then Bama, and so on and so forth. So, the SEC is going to get...
That's why you will see the Big Ten and the SEC weighted differently than the ACC and the Big 12. A 2-loss Big 12 team is out. A 2-loss ACC team is out. Okay, not in the Big Ten and the SEC because of the caliber of competition, the depth of competition in the two.
So it is going to be exciting, and I know we'll highlight this week's matchups later on as well throughout the week, but it starts again. You mentioned him earlier, Ashton Genty. He played well this past week against UNLV.
We didn't get CBS Sports then in the hotel. I didn't see him play. So after Freddie Freeman hit a grand slam, I was gone.
You were gone. But he played well. Boise State now is sitting 15th in the rankings. They're sitting on that border as a group of 5 school.
Doesn't matter.
I know.
If you're you could be 18th, and if you're the best group of 5 school you're in, they don't. That part doesn't matter because essentially what's happening here with the power conferences, you're fighting for as at-large teams.
Yeah,
you're fighting for 7 spots.
So they're sitting there as an interesting group. You've got it's going to be a big week worth of games. The big matchup, of course, is the Ohio State-Penn State game. But there's some interesting ones going on. Tennessee-Kentucky should be fun, as always. It always is going to be.
Tennessee's not playing well offensively.
Tennessee's offense, no.
And Kentucky plays very good defense.
They almost got, what, Georgia a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
So you never know.
Kentucky plays really good defense. Tennessee's not playing well offensively. I know what. Pitt's got SMU.
Pitt has SMU. It's the late game, the 8 o'clock on the ACC network. But that is the only other
that
ranked
game's in
matchup.
Dallas, right?
It is in Dallas at Gerald Ford Stadium.
It's not the Gerald Ford you think it is.
No, I know. It's a different Gerald Ford.
Yes, it is. So,
of course, there'd be multiple Gerald Fords out there.
Right, and President Ford was from Grand Rapids, Michigan. He wasn't from Dallas.
Look at you, Mr. Knowledge there. Going to the professional side of things, just to flip it a little bit.
I can read.
Did you watch what happened last night with the Bears versus Commanders game?
I was watching the game. It was 12-0, and I said, "This is boring." I went to practice.
Yeah.
But I did see the last play.
So you saw the last play. So
because I looked at my phone and saw the last play, I went, "Oh, okay."
So you saw Tyreek Stevenson taunting the Commanders sideline as the Hail Mary was being played.
I didn't see that part.
So the play starts. He is there on the far side, clearly to watch that side of the play. He's taunting the Commander's sideline. First 2 seconds, he doesn't turn around to be involved in the Hail Mary. He's taunting the sideline. Then he turns around, runs in. What does he do? He tips the ball, and he's the reason it's caught. And he has now gotten slammed online by his teammates, by everybody, because the play was happening and he just wasn't paying attention at all, and then caused the tip, which then caused a touchdown. Which, by the way, Jayden Daniels threw the ball 65 yards in the air, which was not bad to see. So, it's just, it happened. And I don't get that. I get the whole...
This is what I don't get.
Yeah.
Okay? And this permeates throughout an entire game. Okay? Let's just take a defensive back, okay? Because it's not just... Right? Knocks the ball down. Poses, holding. Man, you got to play the next play. How about, the next play?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I understand the emotion of the game, but you got to be ready to play the next play because guess what? They may kick your backside the next play.
Yeah. That's literally what happened. He was taunting them, sitting there taunting, and there's a play going on. He didn't at any point turn around and think,
I see this too often in sports. Okay, you don't think I see guys like score a bucket in basketball, like, right? And like some guys running past them down the court, slam dunk, because they beat you on a fast break on a made basket. Like, okay, you got 40 minutes. Pose when it's done. Okay, it's a long game. Okay, to quote the great philosopher Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you get hit.
I have a question.
Guess what? Yeah. You get hit all day.
Yes.
That's what I always love. Some people have the rah speech out, like, here we go, kill man. They run out of the crowd, goes, and all of a sudden there's a coin toss, there's the national anthem. 15 minutes later, you haven't been on the field yet. Like, yeah, okay. It's like, come on.
Jeez. Steve, I have a question. What is the best 2-6 team in the NFL? Is it the New York Jets or the Cleveland Browns with Jameis Winston? Because the Browns pulled off an upset over the Ravens.
I was going to say the Saints.
The Saints are also 2-6. So are the Jaguars, Patriots, Raiders, Giants, and Dolphins.
I only said that to make you feel better.
No, I know. But honestly, the Jets are terrible.
Well, you just figured this out?
No, I know. But the fact that they have somehow gotten worse.
No. Look, here's the bottom line. Okay? Remember when they brought up the TV schedule? And I said to you there are too many Jets games on here?
Yeah.
What do you think? Why do you think I said that?
Because there are too many. They aren't good.
Because I didn't think they were very good.
No.
They are, to their credit, what would be the technical term for them? A mess.
I was going to say dumpster fire, but whatever. No, but Same difference.
They're a mess.
Yeah.
Let's start with this. I have, for how many years he's been in the league? All those years at
15, 16,
Green
20.
Bay, all I did was praise Aaron Rodgers all those years because he was great. He made plays, his ability. He ad-lib plays was really very few better than him at ad-lib plays.
He did what Mahomes does now.
Right? He was doing stuff Mahomes does now. He was doing that before he ever did. Like, okay, here, there, throwing off a different foot. Right, throwing off balance, but was on balance for him. Hail Marys at the end of games, halves, things like that. Not sometimes being given the best set of receivers to work with, yet making everybody else around him better. So I've said all this stuff about him. Okay, now I'm going to say this with all due respect. He's a 40-year-old quarterback. That's not the issue. Playing a year after an Achilles. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? Hard. He can't. You watch. He can't do these things with the Jets as to how he plays the game the way he played at Green Bay, because it's not because of age, but age slows down the healing process. Okay.
Yeah.
That's where the 40-year-old part comes
Instead
in.
of taking 2 weeks, it might take 4.
Right.
Instead of 3 months, it might take 4.
Right. Instead of a year, it might take 18 months. Okay. Most Achilles take 18 months before you're back all the way. Like whenever I've been around an athlete with an Achilles, it usually like a year, they're functional and can play, but they aren't all the way back yet for another 6 months. And I pointed that out over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
All right. So that's not something that is new here. All right. So that's what he is on a team that desperately needs to have somebody that can make a couple of magical plays. Because right now they're a drop back, like pass. Can't really do much about moving the pocket or creating. The Jets are not creative offensively because their quarterback, who's been one of the great creators on the field we've ever seen, right, can't do it right now because his body is still in the healing process and can't do it yet.
Yeah.
So, and they're not good enough. They're just not good enough, right? And the coaching situation's a mess. It's just the whole thing is a mess. And then there's Anthony Richardson.
Oh, boy.
I ran 3 straight times and I'm pulling myself out. I'm tired.
Bad. That's
okay.
bad.
Let's see. Patrick Mahomes running all over the place.
Lamar Jackson running all over the place.
Lamar Jackson running all over the place seems to stay out there. Fran Tarkenton. Roger Staubach. Terry Bradshaw. Steve Young, Joe Montana. What are we doing here? I'm tired? You're tired? Okay? This is an interesting era.
Mm-hmm.
And for this reason. I've said on the show a number of times, they're the best conditioned athletes in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And each league has the best conditioned athletes they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that keeps flying in the face of that for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, and basketball, that's that's up and down, okay? And hockey's like that too.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, basketball, but basketball keeps doing the load management thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're killing their sport when they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
They're killing them.
Yeah. Now we've discussed ad nauseum.
Right. Why do you want to buy a ticket? I don't know if he's going to play tonight, even though he's
Yeah.
completely healthy. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Okay. Hockey has no load management. Okay? They show up every game. Baseball, I got it. You got 162 games. Okay. And Aaron Judge has now played 11 days in a row. I mean, let's use some smarts here. He needs a day off. It's 100 degrees out. I got it. Okay. But in the NFL, I'll look in the fourth quarter. Nick Bosa's not out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's winning time here. Mm-hmm. I remember Aaron Donald. Great player. Mm-hmm. In fact, the Rams, I can tell you, still have his locker because I was in the Rams locker room 2 weeks ago, and it's like
they're hoping.
It was
he
like
returns.
Aaron Donald still has a locker here,
and they're hoping
somebody's hoping
back.
upon hope. Okay, right. But he'd be in the fourth quarter. He'd be out of series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? And this happens all the time. I see it. And I know, look, okay, well, we're going to keep him fresh. Fresh for what? Mm-hmm. That's what the second quarter was made for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Halftime.
Yeah. You rest them earlier in the game, and then you make sure they're good to go.
We've got the ball. Rest. We've got the ball. You're not playing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. And then this guy, I ran 3 plays in a row. I don't care. You're the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Okay? We'll hand the ball off this time. You won't have to run.
It's almost like they have a good running back too, Steve. It's almost like they have the number 1 yardage running back in the NFL for the past few years. It's almost like they have him somewhere.
I'm the Colts management. I'm asking what the trade deadline is.
Yeah.
I don't want this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I tapped out. You tapped out? Really? This isn't a basketball game where doom, 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 doom. Hey, okay. Hey, look, I got it. And you'll see they have a little signal to the bench like, hey, look, I'm kind of out of gas here. And I got it. But you're out there the entire time playing both offense and defense. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of sprint. Yeah. And what are we doing here?
By the way, it wasn't like it was the end of overtime. It was like 12 minutes in. It was the third quarter.
I know.
How can you that makes it more
You just had halftime. You can't be that tired. You can't be. Okay? Everybody out there is tired. Mm-hmm. It's a hard game.
Yeah.
All right? All you got to do is just like give a signal to the sideline. Hey, we need a running play here. Okay, I just need to kind of like that's my rest period. Mm-hmm. Fine. And by the way, who's the backup quarterback for them?
It's Flacco.
It's Flacco. What did Flacco do when he came in?
Yeah,
he handed the ball off. What are we doing?
He hands it off, and then they had to kick a field goal to play afterwards.
Like what?
He could have done the exact same thing.
Of course he could have. I'm tired. You're tired? Oh, boy, I'll tell you, fourth quarter of 5 minutes ago, that's exactly the foxhole guy I want to be with. I'm a little tired. I really can't get out of the foxhole here. Oh, okay, great. You stay there, Anthony. The rest of us will charge the Bastille. It's like, okay, don't worry about it. Yeah, put your feet up. We're good. Mm-hmm. I'm tired. Tired.
Absurd.
No, it's absurd because you've got to get in a huddle, and you've got other people who are gassed, your offensive line. Yeah. Your offensive line, who never goes out unless they're hurt, and they're going to look at you and go, is he going to tap out again?
Mm-hmm. The receivers who are running 35, 40 yards downfield to try and get open. You think Michael Pittman's like, oh, do I have Richardson or Flacco right now?
I mean, if they're running like streaks, they usually do take them out, and give them a play like they just ran a sprint. I got that part because you have deeper players.
Mm-hmm. But let's say he's out there every play.
For God's sakes, you're the quarterback. right? This isn't rotating Craig Morton and Roger Staubach every play. This isn't like choosing between Montana and Young as to who you put out there. For goodness sakes. I
know we're wrapping up shortly, but I wanted to ask, have you seen the Dwayne Wade statue in Miami?
No, I have not.
I'm going to pull up a photo for you.
That's great. I can't wait to look.
And I want
I sort of saw the Kobe statue from afar, but I was on my way to dinner, so I did not stop.
I would like your thoughts. Does this look like Dwayne Wade?
No.
No, it does not look like Dwayne Wade.
I mean, no, the jersey looks right, and so is his number.
The rest of it is right. It does not look like Dwayne Wade.
No. I mean, that's Gabrielle Union would not be like, would not take him home.
So that was the most recent statue.
But for those who don't realize, Gabrielle Union is Dwayne Wade's wife.
Yes. And this statue is the most recent one to make headlines, of course. We've seen statues in the past that don't look like athletes.
Oh, bobbleheads. I've seen bobbleheads. You're like going, who the heck is that?
I have a question. Is there a Steve Jones bobblehead?
The only thing of mine that they put out was a microphone. And if you hit the button, it had some play-by-play calls. They gave it away at a Penn State basketball game a dozen years ago. So there is no facial Steve Jones bobblehead. There are Jackham bobbleheads, which I would like to point out he has sent to me. With a note. I knew you would want one. I've got one of him football that he sent me, and one of him in a Johnstown Tomahawks hockey jersey with a stick and a football. For the blue-white game, I put it down there. He says, my inspiration for the day. He goes, unbelievable.
I am going to be texting my sources over at the State College Spikes and requesting for there to be a Steve Jones bobblehead made at some point in the near future. I don't know if you know, but I may have a connection there. I will be getting that made.
Yes, well,
and we will be giving away a Steve Jones bobblehead, possibly signed if we can find him. I don't know where Steve Jones might be on a given day.
I have signed the microphone thing. I've signed a lot, so I've done that.
We'll get you a bobblehead. Maybe it'll have a steak with a little plate with a steak on it. It'll be something special.
I did filet medallions, 2 4-ounce filet medallions, and shrimp.
Huh.
I went that.
Look at you.
That route there. It was very sophisticated.
You are sophisticated.
And a glass of Pinot Noir.
Okay. Very nice. It was a nice meal in Madison.
I also had a bowl of the bisque.
Oh.
Lobster bisque. One big chunk of lobster, or mostly bisque.
And we'll, of course, discuss the rest of the Penn State, Ohio State stuff as we go throughout the week, because there is a lot to discuss in terms of that and other games going on in the nation.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with Steve Jones.